Brooke Madison was invisible. In the crowded hallways of Northwood High, she was a ghost, flitting through the sea of laughing faces and boisterous conversations, unseen, unheard. Bullied for her quiet demeanor and awkward gait, she retreated further into herself, a fragile bird hiding from a relentless storm. She yearned for ballet, for the graceful leaps and elegant poses, but the fear of judgment, of failure, held her captive. Then came the VR headset. It was a gift from her well-meaning, but ultimately clueless, aunt. At first, it was a novelty, a brief escape. But soon, it became her lifeline. Inside the virtual world, Brooke was Maya, a radiant, carefree girl with fiery red hair and an infectious laugh. Maya danced with abandon, her movements fluid and confident. She was surrounded by friends who adored her, who cheered her every pirouette. It was the life Brooke had always craved, the life she was too afraid to reach for in reality. Her real-life mother, Sarah, watched with growing concern. "Brooke, honey, you're spending all your time in that thing," she'd say, her voice laced with worry. "You haven't eaten a decent meal in days. You're losing weight, and you look exhausted." Brooke would shrug, dismissing her mother's concerns. "I'm fine, Mom. Just having fun." "But it's not real, Brooke," Sarah would plead, her hand reaching out to touch her daughter's arm. "The more you neglect yourself here, the more it will hurt you there." Brooke, lost in the allure of Maya's world, couldn't hear her mother's wisdom. She was too busy basking in the virtual sunshine, dancing under the virtual stars, forgetting about the emptiness that gnawed at her in the real world. But even paradise had its cracks. In the VR world, Maya's mother, a glamorous, perpetually partying woman named Vivian, was everything Sarah wasn't. Vivian was flirtatious, constantly surrounded by different men, her life a whirlwind of champagne and shallow conversations. Brooke, as Maya, found herself increasingly uncomfortable with Vivian's lifestyle. One evening, Vivian announced she was going out with a new friend and expected Maya to entertain him while she got ready. The man was older, his virtual gaze too intense, his compliments too sugary. A knot of dread tightened in Maya's stomach. For the first time, the VR world felt suffocating, not liberating. She stammered an excuse, fled the virtual room, and yanked off the headset. The sudden return to her dimly lit bedroom was jarring. The silence was deafening. She looked at her reflection in the dusty mirror. Her eyes were sunken, her skin pale, her hair lank and lifeless. The image was a stark contrast to the vibrant Maya she had been just moments ago. That night, Brooke couldn't sleep. The weight of her neglect pressed down on her, heavy and suffocating. She remembered her mother's words, "The more you neglect yourself here, the more it will hurt you there." The truth of them finally hit her with the force of a tidal wave. She looked at the discarded headset lying on her desk, its smooth surface reflecting the pale moonlight. It was a gateway to a fantasy, a seductive promise of happiness. But it was a lie. It was a happiness built on the foundation of her own self-neglect. The next morning, Brooke woke with a newfound resolve. She ate a proper breakfast, a bowl of oatmeal with berries, surprising even herself. She went for a walk in the park, breathing in the crisp morning air, feeling the sun on her skin. She even ventured into the school library, something she hadn't done in months. The headset remained untouched. Days turned into weeks. Brooke felt the initial pangs of withdrawal, the longing to escape back into Maya's world. But she resisted. She started small, taking a deep breath before entering the school cafeteria, forcing herself to make eye contact with her classmates. One afternoon, she walked past the dance studio in town, her heart pounding. She stopped, her hand hovering over the doorknob. The fear was still there, a familiar tightening in her chest. But this time, something else was there too, a flicker of hope, a spark of courage. She opened the door and walked in. The aroma of rosin and sweat filled the air. The sound of music flowed from the speakers. A group of young girls, dressed in leotards and tights, were practicing at the bar. Brooke took a deep breath and approached the instructor, a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. I'd like to take ballet lessons, she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. The woman smiled. Welcome, she said. We're happy to have you. Brooke's journey was just beginning. It wouldn't be easy. There would be stumbles, there would be moments of doubt. But she was no longer hiding in the virtual world. She was facing her fears, embracing her imperfections, and taking the first step towards becoming the real, authentic Brooke Madison. She was finally dancing her own dance.